This is Professor Carpenter at Valencia College. Welcome to this lecture on analyzing descriptive readings. Take a look at this lesson's objectives. In this lecture, we'll be analyzing and discussing examples of descriptive writing in your text, 75 Readings Plus. Let's take a minute to review the definition of a descriptive essay. It's an essay that describes something or someone, an object, person, place, experience, emotion, or situation, by appealing to the reader's senses: sight, sound, touch, smell, and taste. As we read examples of descriptive essays from 75 readings, we are looking for the same characteristics that are the foundation of your own descriptive essay: an introduction and thesis, sensory details, vivid word choice, figurative language, and a conclusion which ties into the meaning and thesis of the essay. Here are examples of descriptive essays we'll discuss in this lecture. Fifth Avenue, Uptown by James Baldwin, The Company Man by Ellen Goodman. First, let's give a little background about James Baldwin. He is an American novelist, essayist, playwright, poet, and social critic. A civil rights activist, he was born in Harlem and grew up in poverty, and he described the struggles of Black Americans in works such as Go Tell It on the Mountain. Fifth Avenue, Uptown was published in Esquire magazine in 1960. In it, he used his childhood neighborhood of Harlem to describe the state of racism in the United States. As you read the essay, the themes that you sense are the despair and frustration of African Americans, their struggle for equality, and the need for white Americans to recognize and do something to improve conditions. And here is an excerpt from the essay Fifth Avenue, Uptown, which reemphasizes the theme of the essay. It is a terrible and inexorable law that one cannot deny the humanity of another without diminishing one's own in the face of one's victim. One sees oneself. Walk through the streets of Harlem and see what we, this nation, have become. And those are the ending lines that emphasize the thesis of this essay. Look at the adjectives Baldwin uses to describe the projects: wide, filthy, hostile. The people who struggle are caught in the fish hooks and the barbed wire of this avenue, so he uses metaphors here. Barbed wires give a picture of a prison, fish hooks of being caught in a place that one cannot escape. Look at the adjectives Baldwin uses to describe the projects: hideous, cheerless as a prison, there's a simile; colorless, bleak, high, and revolting. As you read the essay, consider how Baldwin describes the variety of types of people of Harlem and why they act the way they do. And here are some different types that he describes. Many have given up, and he describes further: they stay home and watch the TV screen, living on the earnings of their parents, cousins, brothers, or uncles, and only leave the house to go to the movies or to the nearest bar. How you making it, one may ask, running into them along the block or in the bar. Oh, I'm TVing it, with the saddest, sweetest, most shameful smiles, and from a great distance. He also describes that there are those who are simply sitting on their stoops, stoned, animated for a moment, and hideously by the approach of someone who may lend them the money for a fix. So there he's describing the drug addiction problem. And then there are others who have avoided all of these deaths, get up in the morning and go downtown to meet the man. So he continues describing these people that get up every morning and go downtown to meet the man. These are the people that struggle. They struggle to instill in their children some private sense of honor or dignity which will help the children to survive. This means, of course, that they must struggle stolidly, incessantly, to keep this sense alive in themselves, in spite of the insults, the indifference, and the cruelty they are certain to encounter in their working day. So they are emphasizing once again the racism that these people who struggle in the African American community face. Let's look now at the essay The Company Man by Ellen Goodman. In this essay about corporate America in the 1980s, the author uses a variety of descriptions in the essay to demonstrate her sentiments towards the main character, Phil, one of the few cold individuals able to march robotically through life, frigidly and indifferently pursuing the forever unseen pinnacle of success. And as you see throughout this essay, he does not meet that pinnacle of success. Phil, to Goodman, embodies corporate America at the time of the 1980s. Goodman uses satire and irony throughout this essay to describe Phil and the conditions of corporate America. So what are some characteristics of Phil? He's a heart attack waiting to happen. He maintains a 70-hour work week. He's constantly obsessed about his work and whether or not he will ascend to the top position. And he chooses work over wife and children constantly. So what's being pointed out here, and what Goodman is making us question, is the values of corporate America. After reading this line from the president of the company who comes to the funeral, the president then begins to question who will replace Phil after he's died and after the funeral, with a paradoxical sentence: who's been working the hardest, getting down to the business of replacing Phil, providing another example of a stereotypical business approach. So there he is, wanting to replace another cog in the wheel of corporate America. So after reading this essay, we can reflect on whether or not changes have been made in corporate America in recent years, or whether these types of values remain. And we know that in the news today, some companies really remain focused on profits and see workers as cogs. And other companies in the financial markets and corporations focus on companies' earnings per share. But there are some companies that acknowledge that balancing profits between the well-being of employees and the nation's interests is a necessary duty for companies. So I'd like you to think about that. And this is the end of this lecture, analyzing readings from 75 readings on the descriptive essay.